balancing act, isn't it? You want to pay people to stay on, but then it seems they got such good pay they left.
That's right. I mean, this is never have roboticists been paid so much in the history of the world, I don't think. So they had this program where for about 4 years in a row, they had this very unusual compensation system which kept a lot of the great self-driving car software engineers around for that time. But then at the end of that period, there was a big payout, and it gave them an excuse to leave.
So it was almost the lock-in wasn't quite long enough, it would seem. And they left, some of them left perhaps because they had so much cash, they just didn't need to work anymore, but some of them to do other rival startups within this area, and some of them cashing in even more.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, most of these, actually, unfortunately, most of them are guys, but most of these people, aren't the type of people who are going to retire and sit around. So, yeah, there were some concerns about the strategy direction last year for the Google project, yeah. And doubts about the new CEO who's running that now. So this big pay package that arrived basically gave people another excuse to get going. And Chris Urmson, who's one of the major guys, he's doing a startup, and then Brian Selesky just did a startup as well that made news last week. Which
was brought out, was it Argo AI?
Argo AI, which I actually had never heard of on Friday, but then Ford agreed to invest $1 billion in that company, and I think there may be only about 3 or 4 people who work at that company right now.
Wow, what a unicorn to be working at. What about the competition, though? Because that has perhaps drawn away some of the talent in that respect. It's got hotter for Google. So they were leaps and bounds ahead, particularly when it came to automation, the miles they racked up, but many have taken a leaf out of their book.
Yeah, that's right. In 2009 they started. They unveiled their first car in 2010, and by 2015 they'd done more than a million automated miles, which is way more than anyone else. And I would argue their software is probably still the best out there. It's hard to know for sure, but yeah, there's a lot of companies that are big car companies, especially that are throwing a lot at this right now.
Talk to us about the CFO, Ruth Porat, because, of course, she came on to Alphabet to try and rein in some of the exuberant spending that was going on in the other projects departments. And she must have looked at this, and she did speak to it slightly about the expenses, and there's funny pay deals that go on in a few of the other businesses.
Yeah, that's right. Verily is a healthcare other bet that they have as well, and they have a similar system that hasn't produced big payouts yet, but they have a similar one. The idea really is, Google, the advertising money machine. You could sit around and just make a lot of money, tying your performance to that. But they wanted to isolate these projects and say, when those ones do well, you'll do well as well, which was the whole idea.
Sort of as if you're working at a startup almost. Yeah. But the problem was these companies did too well.
Yeah, well, especially the car project one is tricky because they still really haven't generated any revenue. So on a traditional sort of level of success, they haven't really done much yet. But if you look at it from the point of view of changing transportation and getting all these other companies to respond, they've done amazingly well.
Maybe Alphabet allowing them to exit a little bit too early in whatever form that might be.